You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. He's Kevin, I'm Derek. I got it right this time. So, it's good to know that I remembered our names this time. That was a little interesting there on Tuesday when you forget your own names, but it is what it is. And it's been a very fun and interesting couple of days here for college football, right? Like most of the time, you and I, we just talk NFL and on this show and go through that. But the college football bowl season is fully upon us. And strong showings by your Georgia Bulldogs tonight. Strong showing for my Oklahoma Sooners the other night. And, leaves me feeling pretty hopeful about what this is going to look like for next season. I know that you guys still have one more game left to play here, and it's a rematch. It's a grudge match type of thing here. Can Kirby Smart finally get the better of Nick Saban? That's going to be the question on everybody's mind there.
Yeah, that is the question, and I think there is no question that Georgia has the talent to play with Alabama. It is, can they make the proper adjustments in game? And that's really been Georgia's downfall against Alabama the last 4 times they've played them. Is Georgia's able to get out to a fairly quick start, and then Alabama makes adjustments. They counterpunch, and Georgia is very, very slow to make adjustments off of the adjustments that Alabama makes. We saw this unwind a couple years ago. Georgia lost the conference championship game to Alabama. They both got into the playoffs. They meet in the college football finals, and they got into overtime, and Georgia lost in overtime. So hoping for something similar, maybe with a slightly different outcome to make my house a really happy place next Monday. But overall, I can't complain. We got football coming up this weekend. We've had football all week. I got to watch my team play tonight. I got no reasons to complain right now.
I like it. And you know what? This will be the last time this year that you and I get to talk some football here, because it is New Year's Eve, and we'll tomorrow breaks in a new year. And so on Tuesday, we get to talk for the first time in 2022 about the football and the reactions and all that. So make sure you guys tune in to the Tuesday show, 11 p.m. Eastern. We go live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. While we're talking about the YouTube, go ahead and head over there to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell. One of the best ways to help support this independent podcast. And we really appreciate everybody chiming in, tuning in, all of that. And I hope that you've made us part of your New Year's Eve celebration here while you're prepping and getting ready for whatever the festivities are around the midnight for your time zone. But if not, catch the replay, and we'll look forward to hearing you there. But Kevin, we got a huge slate of games here. Normally this time we're starting to talk about the Thursday night reactions and all of that, but they didn't have a Thursday night game this week. So all 16 games on the slate are ahead of us for Sunday and the lone one on Monday. So Sunday is going to be a very, very busy day full of action, and it'll be very interesting to see how these things come to play and see how this thing comes to fruition here. A lot of playoff seeding on the line, a lot of teams looking to still get in, and some very interesting matchups. Again, this is one of those that do you see teams fight and try and stay competitive, or are they just packing it in and going for the paycheck to get to next season? So it'll be interesting to see it. I have a feeling when we start breaking down some of these games, we'll have some thoughts as far as that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Full slate, but it's good. For many people, this is championship weekend, right? Some finished last week. Some, for God knows whatever reason, might finish next week. But this is the key weekend. So a lot of fantasy implications for those of y'all in your championship matches. Derek and I covered the array of finals that between the two of us that were in this weekend as well. So if you have any questions, fire them off. We'd love to answer them, help you out, set your lineup. Last minute free agent pickup, possibly with some of the COVID stuff that's going on. But yeah, hit us up, let us know, and we'll help you out.
First question actually coming in there. I'm going to butcher this name, so my apologies, but Malachi. Malachi. Okay. Malachi over there on YouTube asking Dallas D or Tampa D. This is a smash Tampa D, easy all day and twice on Sunday for me.
I'm going Dallas D.
Okay.
The Arizona
right.
Cardinals, the Tampa D's. I agree. The Tampa D on paper looks like the smash play, but with them having a limited number of offensive weapons, it means that Tampa Bay offense may not be on the field as much. So it will lead towards more opportunities for the Jets to kind of find ways to wear it down, make it work, see if the Zach Wilson check down game's working for him a little bit, and create havoc. I'm leading Dallas because both these teams have so much to play for still. Kyler and that Arizona offense has not looked right here in the past couple weeks. The Cowboys are a defense on fire right now. They're creating tons of turnovers. They're really kind of driving the bus there in Dallas, which is something that nobody ever thought we would say with Dak and Amari and CD and Zeke and Mike McCarthy as the head coach. But, coming into championship week, I'm going upside here. And the upside is that Dallas D is going to be able to force some turnovers because I think the Jets, even if they're kind of meh, whatever, I don't know that Tampa Bay secondary is going to be ball hawking Zach Wilson a whole bunch, where I think the Dallas defense will be ball hawking on Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely do have some very good points there. And when you look at it, right, like Dallas is the number one ranked defense on the season. So I can certainly see that come into play, right? Like they're averaging right around 11.9 fantasy points per game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been averaging right around 8.7 points, and all of this over in like half point PPR scoring. So, as far as that goes, right, Dallas actually has the number one ranked defense and special teams for fantasy football at this point in the season. So I can certainly see that one coming to fruition, and I can see that coming true. The reason that I hold to the fact that I think I would go with Tampa Bay in this matchup is all about the matchup on this one, right? Like, yes, I think that you're shooting for upside when you play Dallas's defense. Do they get a turnover off of Kyler? That is what the Dallas's defense MO has been. And, we've heard about some of that bet going on between the offense and the defensive side of the ball. The defense, turnovers versus the offensive touchdowns. And so all of that coming through, like those guys are fired up and playing at an elite level, which is what you want to see this time of season. But I'm just kind of how I've got these things projected and statting out there. I've got Tampa Bay scoring about the Jets scoring about 10 points in this one. I see the Cardinals finding a way to get 20 plus in that matchup. So I'm going to go with the team that's going to have a lower scoring on that one. And I think you're going to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just let Ronald Jones run loose on this. The Jets have been absolutely putrid against the opposing running backs this season and fantasy points allowed. So while Tampa Bay is missing a lot of their key offensive weapons, right? Godwin's out, Evans is out. You still have Gronk, you still have AB, and I think that you're just going to see them hand the ball and just run the clock and whittle that thing down to the point where even though New York is going to put up some points, I don't see that being very successful on that because of the fact that Tampa Bay defense still is going to make them somewhat one-dimensional and make it where you're going to have to see Zach Wilson really try and move the ball through the air, maybe some check down passes, things like that. But I just don't see that coming to fruition there. But I could certainly jump on the bandwagon with you on the Dallas D for the upside. I like that from that side.
Yeah, Tampa has the safer floor.
Absolutely. And I guess that's probably the other thing too to look at, Malachi, is where are you needing? Are you projected to win and are you a heavy favorite projection, or are you needing to come back a little bit and you needing to play from behind there a little bit? And you're looking to get some points there, and that would factor into the decision as well. Russ or Herbert is the next question from Malachi over there on YouTube.
Ooh,
and
that one's
ugly
on both sides, and just because of the matchups this week.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Herbert, though.
I'm going to take Herbert as well.
Yep.
I feel like Herbert's been more consistent throughout the season. I feel like Herbert has done a better job of putting his weapons in the right position to score points. The Broncos were just eliminated from playoff contention last week. So, maybe they're trying to play the role of spoiler. Maybe they're like, okay, well, now that the season's done, let's not, get anybody hurt. We'll check in, get our paycheck, and check out. So I like the Justin Herbert play also. I don't think Russ is going to feast against the Lions defense. I think that is going to be more of a run-centric game. for the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see Rashard Penny. You'll see some Alex Collins in that game, no doubt. And then for the Detroit Lions side, sounds like you're going to get Swift back and Jamal Williams back for that game as well. So you'll probably see a heavy dose of run on the Lions side as well. So go Herbert. I think your chances for more points much better.
And this might be a little bit bold here to say, but it's not going to surprise me when I look up after that Seattle game is done and you saw Rashad Penny put up more fantasy points than Russell Wilson. I absolutely see that in the realm of possibility, and that's not going to surprise me, which is saying something when, typically you're talking about a backup running back, even a guy that was drafted very high to try and be that guy, outperform a name like Russell Wilson as far as the quarterback position goes. So yes, Herbert for me all day. Let's see. Okay. Last one, pick 2, AJ Dillon, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones, Devontae Freeman, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones.
Cosign. Not even close.
Yep. It's a night and day difference there. So very cool. Malachi, we appreciate all the questions. Again, if you have some more questions, guys, if y'all have any questions out there, throw them in here. Let's talk about them. Let's chat about them. We very much enjoy, that and being able to talk about all of that with y'all. And so, Kevin, let's go ahead and we're going to start heading into some of these matchups here. And it looks like the slide for me isn't loading here, but so we don't get our fancy dancy graphic here to start this off, but that's okay. We'll work on trying to get some of these ones down the road to pull up here and work. So our first matchup, you've got the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to visit the Buffalo Bills. 14.5 is the line on this thing, favoring the Bills, and the over-under is 44. What do you got in this one? How you see this one playing out?
I see Buffalo riding high off this win against New England last week. I think they realized that, hey, we have the division back in our grasp, which means a home playoff game. And that's something that the Bills, I'm not going to say desperately need, but would very, very much like to have, is bringing a team up into Buffalo and having to play in those elements. So Atlanta, I think that they're still technically
alive. I think they are somehow.
I think they're still mathematically alive in the playoff scenario. I can't believe that the Atlanta Falcons lasted longer than our Denver Broncos.
Yes.
But that being said, it all stops here. I think the 14.5 is going to be quite easy for Buffalo to cover. Honestly, I see this being a 17 to 20 point game, just based off of give a damn and what they're playing for. So I like Buffalo. And 44, I like the over in this game too.
Okay. I've got it playing out slightly different. Again, I see you. I see what you're talking about with Buffalo, and I'm going to take Buffalo on the covering on this one. But I also just see it to a point where you're not going to see enough points happen from the Atlanta Falcons for them to keep this thing close enough to get to that over. But it's close, very, very close for me. When I was going through and I was projecting this one and statting it out and all of that, I ultimately had this thing playing out where it's going to be about a 30-13 type of win for the Buffalo Bills, which that puts us at just under because that would be at a 43 point total. So it's going to be close. But I do ultimately see the Bills just kind of getting to a point where, they've kind of run away and hide with it type of thing because of the fact that the game's not competitive, it's not close, and you may see them start even to try and get some guys a little bit of rest here down the stretch to be able to really have a let guys kind of rest up there heading into some playoff matches, things like that, because it doesn't look like you're going to get the first round bye in that one. So the fact that when you can try and rest your guys and get them a little bit of a break in there when you can, it will certainly help out. And so I think that could very well be how we see this thing playing out there. So 30-13, how I see that one again, right? Like on the Atlanta Falcons side of it, I'm not looking to play really anybody on that side of the ball. If I've got Kyle Pitts, I'm probably forced to play him this week. And while he's been okay, he certainly hasn't paid off on the draft capital that you had there. He has been a good tight end down the stretch though. Same thing with Cordaro Patterson. I don't know that he's going to do enough to be fantasy relevant for you, so I may try and pivot off of him. Buffalo side of things, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen's, but I'm not looking to play any of the Bills running backs, anything like that. So any other thoughts on this one?
No.
All righty. Well, let's go ahead and head on over here into our next set of matchups. And that next setup is going to be, hey, there we go. The one that we just got done talking about. I got it finally work there. But let's go ahead and head on over to the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs here. Kansas City favored by 4.5. The over-under on this one is 50.5. What are your thoughts here?
This has the potential to easily be the highest scoring game of the weekend.
Yep.
I expect this game to be fun. I do expect there to be a lot of passing yards in this game. Kelsey just got cleared from COVID protocols. He was at the game in Dallas watching his Cincinnati Bearcats get thumped by Alabama. Him and Pat Mahomes were hanging out. But now it's back to business. I think the Chiefs do find a way to win this game. They're kind of in playoff mode. They seem to have kind of atoned from their early season woes. They have 5 or 6 consecutive weeks of hitting 30-plus points. I think that continues. So that over, that total at 50.5, that just seems really low for me. I'm smashing the over on that because I think we're looking somewhere in the neighborhood of, 33-27, 33-24, something like that. And I like Kansas City to keep the ball rolling here. They have the division in hand. They're fighting for a potential number 1 seed and a bye through the first round of the playoffs. So I like Kansas City here, and we should see a lot of very, very productive fantasy pieces in this game.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that you're going to see a lot of big numbers come out of for fantasy points on this one. And I'm with you. I think the Kansas City is going to cover this one. I've got this thing playing out right about 30-24 in favor of Kansas City. So when it's all said and done, I see Kansas City covering. I see the over coming to fruition on this one. It'll be interesting to see too, right? Like where there were some reports coming out last week that Tyreek had been his conditioning had been affected by his stay on the COVID list there as well. So we'll see what that looks like going forward as well, and see if that affects any of these other players that were hit in that Kansas City locker room on this thing as well. But I do think that you're going to see Cincinnati throw the ball and try and keep this thing rolling. You may see a very big Joe Mixon day. That's not going to surprise me if they try and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands a little bit and try and establish the run and really try and set the tempo, set the pace on the ground with Joe Mixon. So I look for Joe Mixon to have a pretty good game on this one. I look for T. Higgins to have a good game. Jamar Chase is always a threat over the top to get a big one. And then in Kansas City, right, you're going to play your usual suspects. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a guy that I'm probably going to fade here going down the stretch because it looks like he still might be questionable heading into this week. So, any other thoughts on that one?
No, this should be a fun one. You start your guys in this game. You start your horses.
Yep. New York Giants heading to Chicago Bears. The line on this one is 6 points in favor of the Bears. The over-under is 37 on this one. What are your thoughts here? This
is one of only 2 games for our entire slate that have 0 playoff implications.
Yep.
That's pretty cool to be week 17. And there's only 2 matchups that don't have anything to do with the playoffs. That being said, Matt Nagy is coaching for his job, whether he believes so or not, and that might already be cashed and done, guys. Who knows what Ryan Pace and the ownership there is thinking in Chicago, but they're at least trying to play for a job. Home game, I like that. The Giants are going to be without Daniels. He's out for the season. They put him up on IR, or Daniel Jones. Sorry, not Daniels. So I think the Bears and their defense will lead the way here. 37.5. I like this being an under. I don't think either team's going to be able to put up Star Wars type numbers in this game. So I do like the under 37.5. The 6 seems like a lot for Chicago to cover, though. So I'm going to take the Giants to cover, but the Bears to win, call it something 17-14, 17-13, something like that.
Yeah, I had a hard time trying to decide where I was going to see this game playing out. I ultimately settled on a 20-13 Chicago victory. So I see the under. I do see Chicago covering just barely, and it's more a case that I just don't see the Giants being able to put up enough points to do that. And I think you'll see the Bears manage to find a way to get in the end zone a couple of times, couple of field goals type of thing. And again, this one here is, if I've got players in this matchup, I'm going to be trying to pivot anywhere I can on this one. Darnell Mooney has a little bit of upside there. But as far as the Giants go, right, like if you've got to play him, you play him. But again, I'm looking to pivot everywhere I can on those guys. I'm not thinking that we're going to see much come from the New York Giants football side of things here. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, like I said, you can play Mooney as a flex play. I don't think that he's the best, but if he's what you have, I completely understand. Monty, you're going to play Monty if you have him.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I'm even struggling to say start Saquon. Like, and you and I made our position on Saquon very well known this season.
You're not kidding.
A lot of people's dismay, chagrin, and calling us, dummies that we don't know what we're talking about. But the proof's in the pudding, and I don't know that this Chicago defense is going to be the defense that all of a sudden decides to give up, 130 total yards to Saquon Barkley and 2 touchdowns to ride your championship game. Right. I don't think this is it.
Yeah. And going through and looking at some of the projections right on Tuesday night, just there was a question coming in, Rashad Penny, David Montgomery, going through, and after I statted those guys out and have gone further through it, I do have to make the correction on my stance that I said on Tuesday, because I did say Rashad Penny in that one, and I am making the jump over with you to the David Montgomery side of things, which is what you called. So props to you on that one. But after going through and doing some of the projections, going through and statting some of these things out, I am now on the David Montgomery side of that coin flip. It is close, but David Montgomery, I did have him projected for higher. And so this was one of those, right? Like, we'll kind of peel back the curtain here and go behind the scenes here a little bit as far as the Mooney is a flex thing. This was a question that I sent over to you and Alex earlier in the week, and it was pick one to start as a flex, right? Daria Ngumbawale, Devonta Foreman, or Mooney. And, kind of going back through on that, we kind of came to the decision that Mooney was probably the best play there for that one, with some upside, with probably about as safe a floor as any of those other guys there. So just kind of putting that out there for everybody in case they're curious about, who should I start instead of, who would be that kind of deal. And that was a question that I struggled with going through there, because Daria Ngumbawale has been a hot waiver wire pickup here going down the stretch. And I get the appeal for a starting running back. I get some of that
against the Pats. Like, if it's against another team,
yes,
I can understand that. But why? I don't understand why anybody's rushing out to grab him for championship week.
I think it's more a case
against the New England Patriots. Like, come on. Like, if that's what you're hinging your season on, you, sir, didn't have a shot coming into the game.
Right. And so I think that was probably the allure, is the fact of how often do you get a running back on the waiver wire that has the potential to get, 15 touches as this late into the season. And I think that's the appeal for it. But I think you're right. When it's all said and done, I think that you're going to see the New England defense just stymie this Jacksonville team and really, really just put the screws to them. So I don't see this one being anywhere close when that's all said and done.
15 for 53 is only worth 5 points, y'all.
Correct.
Like, that's all it is. I mean, and I don't see the allure there. And like you said, yes, the ability to say you have a starting running back that you picked up off the waiver wires for championship week, but we're not talking Alexander Madison. We're not talking, Zeke tweaked his hamstring in practice so you can go grab Tony Pollard. We're not talking, even Devonta Freeman went down so you can go out and grab one of the other Ravens running backs. Why am I not thinking of his name right now?
I think of Lat Murray.
Yes. Sorry. I kept wanting to say Mark Ingram, and I knew that wasn't right because he's in New Orleans now.
Correct.
So, but it's that type of situation. Those are run first teams, and they have an identity. And hell, we're week 17, and the Jaguars still don't have an identity. And they're going up against the Patriots on the road, and there's just so much against this kid. And I wish him the best, but I'm not playing him for my fantasy championship game.
No, and that was ultimately kind of where that decision came from and came to. So, but again, just wanted to peel back the curtain there a little bit. And, guys, when we say, throw out your questions, let's talk through it. Like we do this on a routinely basis where, if one of us has a question or a roster dilemma ship, like we'll throw that out there in the group and we'll talk through it and ultimately kind of come to a decision on that one. So, we'll do the same for y'all. If you have those questions, we'll throw them out there. We'll talk through it and we'll go from there. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up unless you've got anything else on this game here.
No, sir.
All righty, let's go ahead and head down to the Tennessee Titans. The Miami Dolphins are coming to town. Tennessee favored by 3.5. The over under on this one, 39.5. What are your thoughts on this game?
I want Miami to win this game so bad.
Mm-hmm.
For Tennessee being 10-5, they just don't feel like a 10-5 football team to me.
No.
Like it just has not been the prettiest thing. Yes, they played pretty stinking well against the Niners last week, and we saw A.J. Brown put up the performance that all fantasy owners have been begging him to have all season long. So if you're able to wait out the clock and then play him in your semifinals, congratulations, it paid off. For a lot of people, because he was their wide receiver one heading into the season, you missed him
there
for a big chunk of time, and it was going to be tough for you to be there. So, I want the Dolphins to win. It was my dad's favorite team, so I'm pulling for him right now. But in all reality, I think this game hits the under. Like, I don't see this being a very high-scoring affair. I do think we're going to see a lot of Jalen Waddle against the Tennessee secondary that is suspect, so that's what's going to make it interesting. But I do think we stay at the under. Man, do I want to call it? Probably not. I'll say Tennessee 21, Miami 14.
Okay, I will call it. I'm going to say that Miami wins this game outright. I think that Dolphins defense is really starting to play pretty hot here. The offense is doing just enough to keep them in games and keep them competitive to winning. They are probably the hottest team in football right now, just rattling off 7 wins in a row. Tennessee has been, while serviceable, Tennessee also has a tendency to play down to their competition there a little bit. So Miami looked really good as far as stopping the run the last couple of weeks here. The secondary's been pretty good. So I think that you're going to see the defense be able to do some things here. Tennessee still trying to figure out how to establish the run in the absence of Derrick Henry. And while we thought that they had some answers there in Devonta Foreman, and the other running backs that they had on tap there as well, that really doesn't appear to be the case, where these running backs have struggled now that teams have some film on them and they have some idea about how to game plan for these guys and how to contain them a little bit. AJ Brown, there's only so much play action pass over the top that you can do if you can't establish the run on this one. So again, I don't see Tennessee being able to get to the 20-point mark. So I'm going to say it is 20-17 with Miami winning this thing. Again, really the only Miami Dolphin that I'm looking to start in this one is going to be Jalen Waddle. If I've got AJ Brown, I will play him because the upside is there. The ceiling is there. But I don't know that I'm necessarily
Gesicki. I play Gesicki.
Gesicki is there if I've got if I don't have a better option at tight end. Absolutely. But I one of those that there's a lot of other options out there that you probably have picked up over Gesicki at this point in the season for tight ends that very well could be better for you. Like, Schultz could be one of those types of guys that's out there that was on the waiver wire that was able to be picked up there. So Gesicki is playable, but not my first choice at tight end this weekend. But if he's on your roster and he is your first tight end, you're most likely going to be playing him there. Any other thoughts on this one? All righty. Let's go ahead and head on over to the Indianapolis Colts.
Sorry, I'm fiddling around with buttons over here.
No worries. The Las Vegas Raiders going to the Indianapolis Colts. Indy favored by 7. The over-under is 44.5. What are your thoughts on this one?
To me, this game all hinges on if Carson Wentz clears COVID protocol.
Yeah.
The CDC recently made changes to their protocol. Making progress could play at the latest 4 hours ago. So we will not know for certain until tomorrow on the status of Carson Wentz. The status on Carson Wentz will determine how I feel about this game. If Carson Wentz is healthy and then we can trust that the Colts could have a balanced attack if needed, then I like the Colts minus the 7. If Carson Wentz does not play, I do like the Colts. However, I do not like the minus 7. I think the Raiders cover that. So there is a key distinction there, depending on whether Carson can play or not. And that will remain to be seen until tomorrow when they make final COVID designations for the week, because they have to be cleared, 24 hours prior to game time, right? So we'll see how that shakes out. But those are kind of my early assessments. Jonathan Taylor is a smash play against this Raiders team.
Yes.
I think Josh Jacobs is going to struggle. Hunter Renfrow could have a pretty nice game. We know that Darren Waller is going to be out. So Hunter Renfrow is a nice play here. I don't know that either quarterback is a guy that I want to be leaning on for my fantasy championship game. Michael Pittman could provide some flex appeal. I don't know that he's in his wide receiver 2 category anymore. He's kind of taken a step back from that, but he is some decent flex appeal. I do expect him to see, 8 or 9 targets, call it 5 receptions for 75 yards. And if he gets the score, he gets you there. If he doesn't get the score, you're wishing you pivoted. But I think I'd play Pittman just because I've been pounding the table for the guy all year long. I can't turn on him now.
Right. No, I like that assessment there. And you're right. For me, this also hinges on whether or not Carson's going to play. If he does play, I think you're right. I think that you're going to see Indy win or Indy cover and the over. If he doesn't win, I think you'll still find that Indianapolis Colts, who's been a very scrappy defense down the stretch here, and really have been able to just play behind the defense, run the ball, control the clock with a marvelous running back in Jonathan Taylor. So if Carson plays, I think that you're going to see about a 28-20 game with Indianapolis winning it. If he doesn't play, I think that this is going to be probably somewhere around a 23-20 type of game, 20-17 type of game, something like that when it's all said and done. So, that Carson playing very much hinges on whether or not I'm taking the spread and the over or the cover and the under. So really depends on one player is going to drastically determine how I'm feeling about this game here. Any other thoughts on this one?
I think my only thought is more or less a question to you. Are you surprised that even with the status of Carson Wentz being up in the air, that the Colts are still a 7-point favorite against a Las Vegas Raiders team who is still in playoff contention?
Not really. It really doesn't surprise me that much, simply from the standpoint of how the Colts have won going down the stretch recently, right? Like they've won behind Jonathan Taylor, really establishing the run, running the clock, controlling the clock, and playing behind the defense who stepped up. So the Colts really haven't relied upon Carson Wentz to go out there and win games, right? Like what they've relied on him to do is not lose games. So we've seen a very, very efficient Carson Wentz over the last 2 months of the season here, where he's kind of gotten back to some of his old self there, where he had a great touchdown to interception type of ratio. We've seen that come back to fruition, but the Colts aren't necessarily looking for him to drive the ball down the field, make big plays with his arm, things like that. They're just looking for him to extend drives, right? To manage the clock, manage the flow of the game to the point when, Jonathan Taylor gets them into a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4 type of thing. Can we hit a quick slant? Can we hit a quick hitch to convert the first down and keep the ball moving and keep that going so we can get Jonathan Taylor lined up again and see if we can't just break off an 80-yard run type of thing. Like, that's how that Colts offense has been. So the fact that they're looking that he's been more of that game manager role than what he was needing to do back in Philly when he was having to play MVP level and caliber type of quarterback play to make that team competitive and successful, I think ultimately is where that line is resting on this one. So no, it doesn't necessarily surprise me that with Wentz being out, they haven't moved that line more so on that one, because of the fact that, if they can get Sam Ehlinger to come in, and if nothing else, just be a game manager that doesn't turn the ball over and convert some short throws, I think the Indianapolis Colts offense will look similar, just maybe not as efficient.
Fair enough.
So, awesome. Well, let's go ahead, and unless you have some other thoughts on this one.
No, sir. On to the next one.
On to New England. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Foxborough, where they're going to face the New England Patriots. Patriots favored by 16. The over-under on this one's 41.5. What are your thoughts here?
Man, I'd say New England on the money line, but the money line's minus 1,100. Like, I don't even know that I'd want to throw money on there to.
No, there's no return on that.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So I like New England to win the game. 16's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Jacksonville's not very good, but New England is very much a defense and run first team right now. So I don't know that I see New England running the score up. Not that they won't keep them at arm's reach, but man, for the sake of having some fun with it, I'm going to say New England covers, because I don't see how Jacksonville scores any points. I like the under in this game because I don't think Jacksonville is going to score very much at all, and New England will find a way to get to 17 plus. And it's going to make it interesting on my little parlay this weekend on what side of this game I'm going to put some money on. But for now, I'm going to say New England covers, but I'm betting the under.
Yes, under all day and twice on Sunday. You are 100% in alignment with me on that one. So I'm seeing this one play out kind of a 26-6 type of matchup here when it's all said and done. And it's more a case that I think what we'll see is we'll see Jacksonville somehow find a way to have somebody break loose, score one, and then them miss an extra point. Like that's been their season all year long type of thing. So that's more a case of how I see that playing out. But there's also the chance that they just manage to, have a good special teams play, something like that, to put them into field goal range. I see them scoring points, but I don't see them, putting up many. So I'm going to say 26-6 when it's all said and done on this. I do like the New England defense. So anybody that's questioning on whether or not to play, smash the yes button, play them. Smash the yes button on the running backs for New England on this one, because there's a chance that Ramondre Stevenson is going to be running by himself in this one, which means great opportunity, a lot of carries for that young man. And we've seen what he can do when he gets a full workload. And Damian Harris has been really just that kind of tried and true RB2 for your roster there as well. So if he's good to go, I'm good with playing both of those guys, but I'm not necessarily looking to go out and play really anybody else in this matchup. Any other thoughts here?
Not necessarily this matchup specific, but I did just come up with my nice little parlay, my little five leg parlay for the NFL slate. And the Bills to cover, as we talked about. The Chiefs game to be over, as we talked about. The Patriots game to be the under. And then my anchor, we'll get to later in this show, but it's going to be the Denver Broncos to cover the 8 points that I just got from MGM.
There you go. I like it. All righty. Well, no other thoughts on this one. Let's go ahead and head to the next matchup here. And this one, I have a feeling is going to be over at halftime, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading to the New York Jets. Tampa Bay favored by 13. The over-under is 45.5. What are your thoughts here?
Tampa Bay all day. I mean, they're yes, they won the division. That's always tough. But I don't think they're resting on laurels at this point. They're still in a spot to possibly get the first round bye, and Tom Brady will have that team focused. I expect a lot of Ronald Jones. If AB is healthy, we were hearing that he tweaked his ankle, but they're still thinking he's going to be good to go. So if AB is on the field, I love that matchup, but I'm thinking a lot of Rojo, lots and lots of Rojo, and Tampa Bay's defense will find ways to shut down the Jets without much of a problem here. So I like Tampa walking away. I think I like the under in this game slightly, only because I don't like the Jets' ability to score points. Like, I just don't think that they're going to come very easily for the Jets, even though they're at home. So I like Tampa Bay minus the 13, but I think I like the under in this game also.
Yes, cosign on that one. I see this one playing at about 32-10 in favor of Tampa Bay there. So the under on this one, Tampa Bay just runs away with this thing, and I mean that with all pun intended, running away with this thing, because I do think that you're going to see Ronald Jones have a massive day here. I think you'll actually see some Keyshawn Vaughn get some play in this thing as well too. And I say that not because that makes him fantasy relevant. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think we'll have a Keyshawn Vaughn sighting, but certainly not looking to play him anywhere this week in any of my leagues. But yeah, this is one that I think this game's ultimately going to be over by about halftime, and we're going to have a very snoozing type of second half when this one's all said and done. Any other thoughts here?
No, sir.
All righty, let's go ahead and head on over to a divisional matchup where the Philadelphia Eagles are heading to the Washington football team. Philly's favored by 4.5, the over-under 44.5. What are your thoughts here?
The Eagles have been on a bit of a roll here lately, so I like the Eagles going into Washington, even though it's a divisional game. No Antonio Gibson. From the signs of things, he got popped on the COVID list, so actually that reminds me in one of my leagues that I need to go look at swapping him out. No Miles Sanders, but I don't think that's the end of the deal for the Eagles. They've been using kind of a 3 or 4-headed monster at running back anyway, so I don't think that changes. Devonta Smith should have a pretty decent game, enough for flex appeal if you are in need of a flex start in your fantasy championships this week. And then as far as Washington goes, Terry McLaurin's about the only person on Washington that I'd even look at starting, and anybody else, and I'm taking a back seat. I'm looking to pivot at other options.
Yeah. I'm even looking to pivot on Terry McLaurin if I can. He has not been he's not been very scary Terry down the stretch here. Well, maybe scary Terry, but in a different sense for your fantasy roster. It's scary to play him. Not for your opponent, but for your own well-being in your league there. So I see this one going Philadelphia's way. I see them covering on this one. I like the under when it's all said and done on this one. I think it's going to be about a 24-18 type of game. But I'm not super confident on calling the under there. It wouldn't surprise me if you see this one touch the over when it's all said and done. Like that line, they set it at a really, really good line on the over under there as far as I'm concerned. So any other thoughts here?
No. On to this next game I really like, so I'm excited to get to this one.
Well, let's head there right now, and that's going to be the LA Rams heading to the Baltimore Ravens. LA favored by 5.5. Over-under on this one's 46. What are your thoughts here?
I love the way that the LA Rams are playing lately. I think Baltimore's luck has kind of run out for them, so I like the Rams going into Baltimore, kind of get into their playoff form. There's a better than good chance we see Cam Akers on the field at some point in this game, which is crazy to think of. But there is a fairly good chance of that with Darrell Henderson going on IR. They activated Cam Akers. Now, I think he still needs to be elevated to the active roster, which they can do tomorrow, and we will see some of that as well. But there's been a lot of scuttlebutt around the industry of him seeing some action, which is good for him. Not fantasy relevant. I'm not saying that. So don't run out and grab Cam Akers and think he's going to be the guy that everyone wanted to draft in the 3rd round this year.
Sony Michel's that guy right now.
Yes, Sony Michel's that guy right now. I'm just saying it's good for Cam Akers, and it's a testament of work ethic and recovery and honestly personal genetics and just how crazy it is to come back from a torn Achilles the same season and come back. So Cooper Kupp is fixing to head out for a lot of record breaking here these next couple weeks. I think Matt Stafford is well aware of that and is going to feed him like crazy. And I think the Baltimore secondary is no bueno. Like Odell has a lot of insight on what this Baltimore secondary likes to do. He's seen them twice a year the last couple of years in Cleveland. So there's no doubt that he will have some input in the game plan when they're talking about that, just because of what he's seen from them in years past. So I like the Rams. I like the Rams to cover. I like the over because I do think Baltimore finds ways to hang in games. I don't think they're going to get the brakes beat off of them, but LA by a touchdown or so, 28-20, maybe 28-23.
Yeah, I've got it played out 27-20 myself is how I see this one going. A lot of for the same reasons you were just talking about. Baltimore is scrappy. You may see Lamar Jackson actually suit up and play this game, which that always adds another wrinkle to things there as well. So we could very well see a decent showing from the Baltimore Ravens, but you're right. I don't think that we're going to see the LA Rams lose this one going to Baltimore. The other interesting thing there too, right? Like you already mentioned it, Cooper Kupp is in line to set several records. They're probably the only receiving record that's not on the horizon this season for him is attainable, I guess would be a better way to say that, would be the receiving touchdown records from Randy Moss. I just don't see him being able to get, I think 9 more he has to get in order to tie it type of thing. But when it's all said and done, he is within striking distance of Michael Thomas in receptions. And we could see some very, very big things here from Cooper Kupp. And you're right, that connection between him and Stafford is real. And I think they're going to do everything they can to get him where he needs to be to
first
set that
2,000-yard receiver in NFL history.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a real possibility of that one. So
I think that'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
Just because it's never been done before. Like, as hard as it is that we always talk about these 2,000-yard rushers, we've never seen a 2,000-yard receiver. And Cooper Kupp is not only within striking distance, but all probability speaks towards him actually being able to do it. Like, that is, history in the making, guys. So tune in and check it out. Like, his connection with Stafford is just next level good.
Right. And that's the amazing thing is that, that was the connection that kind of flew under the radar from all of the beat writers, from everybody else that was following this team. They didn't find out about that connection until week 2, week 3 of the season. Like, it was insane to see how late that comes through. And that's normally stuff that gets reported on and the hype train gets built on early in July and August. So, rather interesting to see that one not come out before then, but
Robert Woods going down helps, right? Like,
yeah.
Cooper's definitely seen, the first, 6-7 games of the season, we were asking where Robert Woods was anyway.
Right.
But then you figured he'd come back down to earth, Woods would elevate, and then with Woods going down, there was no reason for Cooper Kupp to come back down to earth. He just kept soaring.
Right. Absolutely right there. All righty, let's go ahead and head on over to the Los Angeles Chargers, where the Denver Broncos are coming to town. Chargers are favored by 6.5 on this one. Over under is 45.5 here. What are your thoughts?
I just got this at the Broncos +8 on BetMGM.
I think the difference on that one is a lot of news has broken since the lines got looked up here.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm just saying I like
Sorton and yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just saying I like it. Like, I like the Broncos to cover that +8. They play the Chargers really well, guys.
Yes, they do.
Like, for all their pits and downfalls that they've had over the years, they play the Chargers very, very well. And Denver fans travel out to LA to see Denver play the Chargers, just like they did in San Diego, very, very well. So, kind of another away game for the Chargers. You know, we joke around and say they have 17 away games all year long. This is going to be no different. The stands will be split 50-50 at best. While I think the Broncos just got knocked out, I don't know that they've quite given up yet. I think that they do realize that they're playing for things in the future. Drew Lock gets a chance to step up and see if he's going to be in the quarterback conversation for the Broncos this offseason and going forward. You have Javonte Williams, who is just nonstop high motor type guy. This defense has still been playing very well. A lot of the Bronco deficiencies have not come from the defensive side of the ball. It's been their ineptitude on offense at times. But that being said, I think they keep this close. I see the Chargers winning this game, but we're talking, 20-13, 17-13, something like that, where it keeps under the 8 points that MGM just gave me. So if we're going off of this 6.5 that you and I are showing here, Derek, that's a pretty close line. And I'll take the Chargers to I'll take the Chargers to blow it. I'll say the Broncos keep that game within 6 no matter what.
Yeah, I've got this one playing out about 17-13 in favor of the Chargers winning it when it's all said and done. I don't think that this is going to be a fireworks type of game. This is not going to be a massive fantasy deal for either side on this one. Several of the Broncos are I believe it was Judy got ruled out already. Sutton is on an illness, and we'll see what his status looks like tomorrow. So you may see a Denver Broncos team that doesn't really have, options 1, 2, or 3 available when it comes to pass catchers. When it's all said and done, there,
Tim Patrick makes a good flex play.
Yes,
if that's where it's going. Again,
yes.
Guys, we expect. And we could be wrong. We shouldn't expect anything. But at this point in the season, you kind of know who your top 2 or 3 receiving options are for your rosters.
Yes.
But in situations like this that could change, if Tim Patrick gets elevated from wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 1, and his route tree doesn't change because he's been playing on the outside, honestly, the deep ball opens up for him a little bit more with Drew Lock playing. So it does make him an intriguing flex option, especially if you're chasing points, where you need him to hit, 70 to 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. That puts him in play for that this week.
Yeah, it does. It certainly does. It's
gonna be tough.
Drew Lock, man. That's enough said on my deal. We all know my feelings on what the Broncos quarterback situation
beaten the Chargers before.
Well, true. Was that the game that LA decided not to leave LA?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, I don't see this one being a great scoring for fantasy on either side of the ball. Obviously, though, you are going to play your studs if you got them, right? Play Herbert, play Mike, or play Keenan Allen, play Austin Eckler on that. As far as the Broncos go, Javonte, Melvin Gordon, absolutely in play on this one because that's how the Broncos are going to move the ball as far as I see it going. Maybe Noah Fant still sneaks in there as far as a tight end play on this one, but Drew Lock's got to throw the ball somewhere, and we're going to see Drew Lock still probably throw 25 pass attempts in this one at least would be my guess when it's all said and done. So any other thoughts of the Broncos and the Chargers?
Go Broncos.
There we go. Hopefully they can bring home a win here. Alrighty, let's go ahead and head out to San Francisco where the Houston Texans are coming to town. San Francisco favored by 12.5 in this one. The over-under is 44. What are your thoughts here?
Stat correction on both sides. I think the Texans come back down to earth after thumping the Chargers last week unexpectedly. And I think the Niners got their wake-up call against the Titans. I think it's a little bit too late in the season. And we get to see Trey Lance. Like, that is all but a done deal that Trey Lance is going to come out and make his debut. That being said, I think the 12.5 is a bit too much. I think Houston finds a way to keep this game within 10. And let's see, we're going for something like a 31-21 type game, but I do think San Francisco finds a way to get this done.
Yep, the hook is what did it for me. That half point hook is what scared me off of calling for the Niners on this one. I see this one playing out about 30-18 when it's all said and done. So kind of right in that same realm that you've got. But so I do see the over on this one. I do see some points being scored. I do see some of that coming to fruition there. It'll be interesting to see what this Niners offense looks like with Trey Lance, because again, all the reports I saw as well showed that Jimmy G is likely not going to be able to go in this one. So we'll see what that looks like there. But yeah, that'll be a very interesting one, because if Trey Lance goes, I'm not sure what that does for some of your San Francisco receiving options like Deebo Samuel, who's been terrific for you all season long. George Kittle, since he's come back, has been pretty good for you. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out there as well. But I do think that you're going to see the Niners win it, the Texans cover, the over get hit. Any other thoughts here? Cool.
No. Pay attention to which Niner running back plays.
Yes.
If Elijah Mitchell gets cleared and he's going to be the starting back, it actually improves Debo's floor, because then he is a pass catcher and not a tailback. If Elijah Mitchell can't go, then it does kind of eat into Debo a little bit, because not only is he going to be playing more tailback, but now he's doing it with a running quarterback. So I do think that hurts Debo if Elijah Mitchell can't go. So just keep that in mind as you're setting your rosters the morning of.
I like it. Let's go ahead and head on over into Dallas, where the Arizona Cardinals coming to town. Dallas favored by 6. Over under on this one is 51. What are your thoughts here?
I like the over. I like the Cowboys, and start them if you got them. I think they're starting to click. I think the defense has been on fire, as we alluded to early in this show. Arizona has been struggling a little bit, finding ways to move the ball. I think Kyler's going to be using his legs quite a bit going up against this Cowboys pass rush. So that should help Kyler Murray's floor here slightly. And then it's just the ability of his receivers getting open. Is it going to be Christian Kirk? Is it going to be A.J. Green? Is Zach Ertz? Are they able to deploy both James Conner and Chase Edmonds? Like, it's not that Arizona doesn't have weapons, guys. Arizona has tons of weapons, but they've been clunky is the word that I think I've settled on here the last few weeks. So, again, both teams are kind of fighting for that number one draft spot. The Cardinals are still fighting for the division. If they lose this game and the Rams win, like we both thought that they would, the Rams secure the AFC West, and the Cardinals are relegated to wild card territory. So there's a lot to be played for on both sides. But I think we saw the Cowboys tune-up show last week against the Washington football team, and I do think that the momentum continues to this week.
I would agree with you. I think this one's going to play out 28-20 in favor of Dallas, so I do like the cover. I do like the over on this one.
That's an under, homie.
Oh, you're right. That is an under. So, I'm going to take the under on this one. 28-20 when it's all said and done here. And I'm right there with you, right? If you've got Dallas players, play them. They have been looking really strong down the stretch, and we'll see what happens with these Arizona Cardinals there. Kyler, and it does not, from what I've seen, it doesn't look like James Conner is going to be out there this week. So that does maybe open up some more opportunities for Chase Edmonds. But again, I'm not necessarily wanting to bank my fantasy championship on Chase Edmonds outside of like a flex type of play.
Yep.
When it's all said and done.
Another flex play, y'all. We're giving you tons of flex plays.
Absolutely. So very cool. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I think, I guess we'll touch on it because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about this. The Zeke, Tony Pollard, situation there. You're playing Zeke. Mm-hmm. And he is not going to be the running back one that you drafted him at, but he is a He is a serviceable running back too at this point. We saw last week that the Cowboys like to give him the ball early in the game, and then they kind of save him later on. Now, a lot of it's because the game's been out of hand. If the Cardinals can keep this game close, which I think for part of the game they're going to be able to within the third quarter, right? I do think that we might see more Zeke usage than what we've seen in weeks past because they'll have a reason to play it. But if the Cowboys feel like they can keep this game at arm's length and Dak is on fire and they're not stopping the passing game, then you're not going to see a whole lot of Zeke in the second half. So I have Zeke on a lot of my rosters. I am playing Zeke this week personally, so I'm advising that others do so as well. But I'm also not expecting him to put up, 20-point performance and a half-point PPR. I'm hoping for that 13 to 15-point range because he falls into the end zone and kind of helps me out a little bit, couple receptions, that type of thing. And that's how Zeke's going to get there. It's not going to be 23 touches and 6 receptions and 2 touchdowns type deal.
I like it. Very cool. Let's go ahead and head on over into the next matchup here, and that is going to be the Carolina Panthers heading to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints favored by 6.5. The over-under is 38 on this one. What are your thoughts here?
For as bad as the Saints have looked, that 6.5 looks awfully hard to get to.
Yes.
Now, we saw the Panthers thump the Saints back in week 2, but that was a completely different team. That was a Sam Darnold before everyone kind of figured him out in Carolina. That was the game Christian McCaffrey got hurt in, right? And for 3 quarters of that game, McCaffrey wreaked havoc on this Saints defense. So while Darnold is in line to get the start now, I don't think the Saints are going to make the same mistake twice. So I like the under in this game. I think points are going to be, well, do I like the under in this game? I like Taysom Hill a lot this week, honestly, guys. So I don't know if I like the under in this game. I think we might just touch the over. But I do think the 6.5 is a bit too much. I can see something 26, maybe 26-20, maybe in the Saints' favor. So that gets me both, right? That gets me the over and the Carolina cover. So we'll see how it all plays out, I guess. But
26-20 gets you the hook. Gets you hooked on that one.
Oh, it does. Yeah. No, 6.5, right? So Panthers to cover and the over.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that one. So I do have the Panthers covering in this one. I think the points are going to be at more of a premium than what you're talking about there. I think this one's going to be a very low scoring affair. Quite frankly, a rather boring football game to watch when it's all said and done. 17-14 is how I see this one playing out. Typically, those divisional rivals down there in the in the NFC South play each other. Carolina's had showings of defense show up pretty well. The Saints have had some pretty good defensive stretches down the stretch here as well. So I think this is much more of a defensive battle when it's all said and done. 17-14 when I'm looking at it. And outside of Alvin Kamara and maybe Taysom Hill, I'm not looking to really play much of anybody in these matchups if I can avoid it. Any other thoughts on this one?
No. I'd love to see DJ Moore have one last great fantasy performance, but that's a personal thing more than anything.
Yes. We're part of the DJ Moore Truther fan club, it seems, but one of these days, hopefully, we'll see that come to fruition.
Needs a quarterback.
That's what. Yes, he does. Let's go ahead and head over to Seattle, where the Detroit Lions are taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are favored by 7.5. The over/under 41.5 here. What are your thoughts here?
The Detroit Lions are 2-12-1 this season. Not a very good football team. However, we have constantly underestimated their willingness to play football for 4 quarters. And because of that, they are 10-5 against the spread this season. Yes. And I say they're going to 11-5. I think that the Detroit Lions cover the 7.5. I do think Seattle finds a way to win this game. Just they're a more talented roster at this point. And honestly, I'm looking at the under. I don't think that there's going to be a ton of points scored in this game whatsoever. Um, so I'm thinking we're going to be see something like a 24-21 Seattle. Ooh, that puts me over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not 24-21, Derek. Maybe I overshot my landing here.
You could join me on the like 20-14 type of range.
I think that could very well be the type of range that we see here. Like I see Seattle covering, or maybe it's something like a 20-14, maybe something like that. 17-20-17, maybe. I mean, I kind of like the 3-point game here, feel of it. So maybe it is a 20-17 game. It still gets us in that under. So somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wrestled with there, as I kept thinking it would be about a 20-17 type of matchup, 20-14 type of matchup here. So I do like the under when it's all said and done there. Detroit has found a way to just hang in games and stay competitive. And really, it's kind of a credit to what Dan Campbell has done and the culture that they're building over there. It's not easy when you've got 2 wins on the season, to keep guys engaged and keep guys fighting. And they somehow continually manage to fight and fight and fight and fight and stay in a lot of one possession type of games here, to the point where when I was looking at this, I almost wanted to call a Detroit Lions win outright on this one. And I just couldn't force myself to do it. But I do see the under. I do see Detroit keeping this close enough to cover. If I look up and it's all said and done and Detroit wins this, it's not going to surprise me. They have a lot of last second heroics on field goals, some of that kind of stuff. So wouldn't surprise me to see that one come to fruition here, but I am going to say that Seattle wins this 20-14 when it's all said and done. Again, I'm looking to pivot just about anywhere that I can off of players in these matchups here. Russ hasn't looked good since he's come back. The Seattle pass catchers have been anemic since he's been back as well. Detroit, we're going to see DeAndre Swift come back. So we'll see what that looks like. I'm never a fan of playing a guy fresh off of injury and fresh off of IR. But if you need him for championship weekend, I'm not opposed to trying to play him as like a flex.
Yes, I think Swift is a guy, if he's playing, you have to get him in your lineup. You have to find a way to do it.
He's dynamic.
He's dynamic. He did absolutely everything that you needed him to, and then some for so much of the fantasy season. Yes, got hurt down the stretch, but the first half of the season, he carried your football team. So I like Swift a lot. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown again as their number 1 pass catcher. So I do think that you'll see a lot of action out of him. Seattle, I understand if you feel like you have to start DK Metcalf, but oh man, is that going to be a tough pill to swallow when DK only gets you like 7 points and there's someone on the bench giving you 13 to 15 points that could have cost you the difference between a loss and a win. But to each their own. I think I would find a way to pivot and get away from DK. The Lions just have not been giving up a ton of points to wide receivers this season, and Russ has not looked all that good.
Facts. Big facts on that one. And cosign. So I like it. Let's go ahead and head on over here for Green Bay. The Minnesota Vikings heading to the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay favored by 13 in this one. The over-under is 42.5. And, Kirk Cousins hitting the COVID list earlier today on that one, and they've already ruled him out for Sunday. And I think that's going to play a lot of impact on this one when it's all said and done. But what are your thoughts here?
I like Green Bay, and I like Green Bay to cover the 13. I think that defense has been playing pretty well. It's a home game for the Packers. You don't have Kirk Cousins there tossing around on him a little bit like they gave him havoc on earlier in the season when the Vikings beat the Packers. So it's going to be a lot of Dalvin Cook. I think you do see a lot of Justin Jefferson in this game just because Thielen went on IR as well. And you're going to see a quarterback who is going to just be focused in on his number 1 read. A lot of times that's going to be Justin Jefferson. So I like Jefferson for the Lions side. Dalvin Cook, obviously, I expect a lot of usage out of him. And then for the Green Bay side, you're I think you're safe starting Jones or AJ Dillon. I think both have running back 2/flex appeal in this game. And then the pass catcher is clearly Davante Adams. I expect him to have a monster game against the Vikings.
Yeah, it's also interesting, too, the fact that the Vikings opted not to take their draft pick rookie quarterback and just see what they've got in him when it's all said and done, because it looks like they're going to start Sean Mannion, who, quite frankly, that's one of the first times I've heard of Sean Mannion, the guy out of Oregon State.
Didn't he play for the Broncos for a game or two?
The Broncos, outside of a couple of quarterbacks, they were starting to resemble the Cleveland Browns with as many quarterbacks as we were going to start there. So,
hey, that's just true.
It wouldn't surprise me if Mannion had been there, but
it's Mannion. It's not Mannion, just so we're aware.
Okay, well, I try and block out those Bronco years in which we would have seen Sean Mannion start for them. So, yeah. I don't think that this one's going to be close. I think this one's going to play out 32-18 in favor of Green Bay. I think you're right, though. I think you will see a healthy dose of Justin Jefferson. I think you also see some checkdowns heading to Tyler Conklin in this one as well. And the fact that I think you'll see Dalvin Cook just try and run roughshod over this one as well, but I don't think they're able to keep this thing close. Green Bay pulls away, runs and hides in this one. 32-18 is how I see this one finishing out. Any other thoughts on this one?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
All righty, let's go ahead and head to the Monday night matchup here. And the Cleveland Browns heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cleveland favored by 3.5, the over-under 41. What are your thoughts here?
I like the Steelers at home. I think they find a way to win this game on national television. I don't think the Browns have looked all that good. I think Baker's still dinged up. They're not giving Nick Chubb the ball as much as I feel like they should be giving him the ball. And, that tie against the Lions for the Steelers is just crazy. I think that they find a way to, quick release, right? Roethlisberger's not going to hold on the ball a whole lot this game. So Chase Claypool, probably not a great option, but you'll see a lot of Deontay Johnson. Pat Freiermuth, if he is still cleared to go, he'll have a pretty decent game. You'll see Najee, do his thing, even though he's worn down a little bit. The Browns will keep it close for 3.5 quarters, and I think the Steelers find a way to pull it out in middle to late in the fourth. So I like the Steelers to outright win this game. And, it could be something like a 21-20 or a 23-21 type game, and that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yep. So that puts you at an over, I believe, then. As far as I see this one going, I do see that the Browns winning this. I see them actually covering on this one. When I was projecting this thing out, I see it being about a 22-18 type of game when it's all said and done. I think while you're right, I think that while the Browns are banged up here, I think that they're going to be able to do enough to hold off a Pittsburgh Steelers team. It'll be interesting, though, when it's all said and done, because they're there's all the talk and the narrative that this is going to be Big Ben's last home game at Heinz Field, things like that. So I'm sure that they're going to be motivated to come out and try and get a win for him, to send him off in style there at home, being that last home game there. But when it's all said and done, I just don't see them being able to do it. 22-18. So Browns cover and the under in a what's not really that exciting of a Monday night matchup for me. On the slate of games that we went through and some of the matchups there, while this one's probably going to be one of the more competitive ones that we see as far as a close score, things like that, this one doesn't necessarily blow my socks off it as far as a matchup goes. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, kind of a stinker to end the season. And the Monday night games this year have been pretty good.
Yes.
This one is kind of a stinker, but overall they've been pretty good this year.
Yeah. So lots of questions here. We're heading down into championship week. So again, guys, if you have any questions, anything like that, you can hit us up on our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Good Old Boys FF. You can do us a favor. If you're listening to this, hop over to the YouTube channel, Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell. Kevin, any other thoughts here heading down here into championship weekend, anything like that?
If desperation play, Tyler Huntley is looking like he's going to get another start for the Baltimore Ravens. So if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, or if you are a Kirk Cousins owner, something of that, or if you just need crazy upside from a dual threat quarterback, Tyler Huntley is a guy that could possibly be out on your waiver wire for championship weekend. So check that out. Other than that, let us know if you have any questions. Good luck. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you, everybody who, tunes in and fires off the questions and gives us some dialogue back and forth, right? It's always fun to interact with everybody. So thank you all very much, and be safe into 2022.
I like it. I like it a lot. Happy New Year, everybody. Well wishes, best wishes for everyone out there. And I think that's going to call it a night for us here. We've still got a little bit of time before the ball drops here in our time zone here. So we'll go do some living it up here before the last bit of 2021. But regardless of that, he's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Thanks for tuning in, y'all.